Thank you. Ms. September, you may proceed.
Thank you, Chair. General Boyson, you mentioned that there is a certain correction that you need to make in relation to evidence that you had given earlier on the Subramani report.
That's right, Chair. It relates to the second report.
Yes.
The longer version.
Yes.
The Chair asked me if that report was directed at me,
Yes.
which I confirmed.
Yes.
Although I'm not 100% sure whether it was written for me
Yes.
or written for Dramat.
Yes. Yeah.
Be that as it may, I only obtained that report at a much later stage
Yes.
from Subramani.
Okay, long after it had been written.
That's right, Chair.
Okay, which makes you think it might not have been prepared with you in mind. It might have been prepared for somebody else, and then that's why you got it much later.
I'm not sure.
Yes.
I'll have to speculate,
Yes.
Chair.
Okay.
I did say earlier on it was directed at me, but I'm not 100% sure whether it was for me or for Dramat.
Yes, well, when I asked you the question, I was asking you precisely because of that, because my understanding, and it may have been a mistaken understanding because of how some of the events are dealt with in your affidavit, my understanding was that because of the role that you were supposed to play at a formal or official level after your discussion with General Dramat in Pretoria, that it may be the report was meant for General Dramat and you were just being given it on an unofficial basis. That's what I was thinking. And you are not sure?
I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, thank you.
If I may then, if we could go back to where you ended off, just before the long adjournment. You were speaking about a Section 205 subpoena that was sought in relation to information that was required to be obtained. Can you please, in very simple terms, explain to the public at large exactly what is a Section 205 subpoena?
Chair, the Section 205 subpoenas, which we acquire normally, and I think it was originally written for recalcitrant witnesses who do not want to testify. So basically, the Section 205 subpoena means you subpoena a person to come and answer questions to a prosecutor in a court of law. But normally, we also use the same Section 205 to acquire bank statements and also telephone records or whatever records we might need to legitimize the institution handing over those documents or files to us. We have to obtain a Section 205 certificate subpoena in terms of the Criminal Procedure Act.
Thank you very much. And that is in fact the procedure that was followed in order to access Mr. Toshon Pandey's bank accounts in relation to the investigation against him.
That is so, Chair.
Now, for the evidence going forward, I'm going to ask you to just bear with me. I'm going to hop around a bit in the affidavit itself with no disturbance to the sequence of events or the timeline. Okay. If I can take you to page 10, paragraph 32, please.
So just to summarize to see where we are. You got a report from Brigadier Kemp, which he intended to give to you and to the provincial commissioner, but you took the one that was meant for the provincial commissioner before she arrived, and you subsequently instructed, is it Brigadier Lategan, to investigate after you had a look at this report that you got from Brigadier Kemp. And Subramani and Kemp were to assist Lategan, is that correct? Or only Subramani?
No, Subramani, it was Subramani and for Lochenburg. Subramani was the lead investigator at that
Oh,
stage.
okay. Okay. So Lategan was not the lead investigator.
No, he wasn't, Chair.
Oh, but he
Subramani was.
remained part of the investigation team, or not really?
Chair, he was actually the direct commander of the commercial crime investigation. So he reported to me.
Oh,
so I did
okay.
Not, it was like following the protocol.
Yes, okay.
That's correct, Chair.
Okay, that's what you did, and then they began to investigate, and at a certain stage while you were driving, you got a call from the provincial commissioner who was quite upset and didn't give you much time to respond to what she was saying, but effectively she wanted you to stop the investigation relating to the investigation that you had asked Lategan and the people under him to investigate. And then subsequently you got, or you told Lategan that the investigation should stop because that's what you had been told. But in your own mind, you wanted more time to think about how to handle the situation. And then, and thereafter, the file was returned to you by Lategan. And a week or two after that, you got another call from the provincial commissioner, is that right?
That's correct, Chair.
And that's when you were, on that occasion, she asked whether the investigation was still going on, or that's what she talked about.
That's right, Chair.
And you told her the investigation had been stopped. And then after that, a week or two later, you got a call. You were asked to come to her office, to the provincial commissioner's office. Is that right? And that's where you found that she took you to the boardroom, and there were some people there.
Chair, there's just something that I
Yes.
think you missed out.
I've missed out, yes.
That's the one meeting that she had with Kemp, Madhu,
Yes.
Tanjana, Masimolo, and myself.
Oh, that's the one I want to talk about. Is it before where I am?
That was the first meeting.
Yes, that was the first meeting. But it was after the second call from the provincial commissioner.
That's right, Chair.
Yes,
That's right.
yes. And then, that was the first meeting. And then later on, there was another meeting. You were called to her office, and from her office, you went into the boardroom with her. Before you got into the boardroom, she asked whether the investigation had stopped. You assured her it had stopped. That's when you met Pandey, his attorney, and Advocate Mkhize, and you told us what happened on that occasion. After the meeting, you went away. Some time later, you were called, and there was a similar meeting. You were called to her office. She took you to the boardroom. There was a similar meeting, but the participants now were Pandey, his attorney, and two advocates who had not attended the previous meeting. And Advocate Mkhize, who had attended the previous meeting, was no longer there. So the advocates now were Advocate Chowdhury and Advocate Sticks Mhlahla. And you have told us what happened and the argument that you had with Mr. Pandey's attorney. That's how far you told us so far.
That's correct, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Following the last meeting that the Chair has just alluded to, where you had an exchange of words with Tasha Geerpersat, did you take any further steps subsequent to that, specific to Tasha Geerpersat?
I did, Chair. Between myself and some of the investigators that worked with me, I cannot recall exactly who drafted the letter, but we did report her conduct to the Law Society at the time.
And did anything come out of that? Or you can't remember?
Chair, subsequent to that, she did something else, which I perhaps could sequentially talk about later on,
Yes.
which was also reported to the Law Society. And it's now a couple of years ago, I was informed about a month ago to come and testify in Durban. 2 days before I had to go to that hearing, I was told no, they've remanded it indefinitely.
Yes.
Because of the new...
the changes to the Law Society.
That's correct, Chair.
Okay. And nothing happened after that?
Nothing happened after that, Chair.
Okay.
If I can then take you to page 10, paragraph 32 of your main affidavit. Mention is made in your affidavit of an engagement that you had with National Police Commissioner General Becky Cele. Can you please inform this commission about that engagement?
Chair, at the time, the current Minister of Police, Mr. Becky Cele, was the National Commissioner of Police. I received a phone call from him, and he inquired from me as to the interference that I was experiencing with the investigation. So I briefly told him that I did not go into any detail because we were still busy with the investigation. And he said to me that I should not entertain any interference and that I should continue with the investigation. And he also said that the reporting lines should be the way it is defined in the police structures, and that the investigator should report to me. I suspect that General Dramat perhaps had brought that to his attention, that there might be interference, and that phone call gave me a lot of reassurance that we can continue with the investigation unabated.
So, so the effect of what General Cele was saying to you was that, one, the investigation should continue.
That's correct, Chair.
And the investigation he was talking about was the one that the provincial commissioner had said should stop.
That's the same investigation, Chair.
And he was saying that the investigators should report to you.
That's correct, Chair.
And not to the national office, not to General Dramat.
That's correct,
That's
Chair.
what he was saying.
That's correct, Chair.
Is your understanding that what he was saying in terms of the investigators reporting to you and not to General Dramat, was your understanding that he was insisting that the reporting lines be the way they are supposed to be?
That was the impression I gained, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Turning over to page 11, paragraph 33, did Mr. Toshon Pandey challenge the Section 205 subpoenas that were sought against him?
That's indeed so, Chair.
I'm sorry, and I know, Ms. September, that you said some parts of the statement are not where they are supposed to be. I don't know whether what you are asking him about is away from what he may have done subsequent to receiving these instructions from General Cele, whether what General Cele said should happen was effected, implemented.
I'll leave it.
So I'm saying I don't know whether you are moving away from that, because I would like to know that whether as a result of, maybe let me ask him, as a result of or subsequent to the instruction from General Cele, were his instructions then implemented in terms of, one, the continuation of the investigation, two, the reporting lines?
Chair, the investigation, bar the week or so that the file was lying on my table, and being cognizant of the fact that the investigators were still continuing, the investigation never really stopped.
Had never stopped.
Never stopped.
Yes.
But what did change was the reporting lines.
Yes.
But as I said, those were for just to get the pressure off me from the provincial commissioner.
Yes.
That they reported to Brigadier Nkosi.
Yes.
And the instruction from Mr. Becky clearly at the time, who was the national commissioner, number one, the investigation must continue, that I should not entertain any interference, and number two, that we should adhere to the reporting lines within the police.
Okay, all right, thank you.
In that instance, during the continuing investigation, did Toshan Pandey challenge the Section 205 subpoenas at all?
Yes, Chair, at some juncture during the investigation, obviously that was after the issue about the Section 205 subpoenas had come up. He challenged the validity of the Section 205 subpoenas in the High Court in KwaZulu-Natal. We obviously, between myself and the investigating officers, we opposed it in the High Court, and the court ruled in our favor that the Section 205 subpoenas were legitimately acquired. Pandey initially filed notice of intention to appeal, but he never prosecuted the appeal.
After the instruction you got from General Ele saying about reporting lines and the continuation of the investigation, did you speak to the provincial commissioner to say, I've actually received an instruction from the national commissioner of police to say the investigation must continue, or did you talk to her about it now at all?
No, I did not.
You didn't?
I didn't.
Okay, okay.
If I could then take you to page 12, paragraph 41. Did the investigation result in any search warrants being obtained? And if so, against whom?
Chair, that's indeed so. What happened is, as a result of the information acquired via the Section 205 subpoenas, the investigators were in a position to apply for search warrants for the residences of Toshan Pandey, the businessman, Colonel Naveen Madhu, Captain Ashwin Narayan Prasad, and also for the provincial headquarters in which I was based, namely for the financial department, for the supply chain management department, and for the department responsible for the deployment of police officers, for instance, in the World Cup soccer. Those search warrants were obtained, and I realized that if we were going to execute those warrants with the provincial commissioner in the building, that all hell might break loose. So we devised a strategy. And Chair, it was very difficult with this investigation because information kept on leaking out, no matter what precautions we tried to take. So I instructed the investigators to assemble a team because we wanted to do all the premises simultaneously. Because once you start with one, by the time you get to the last one, all the incriminating evidence had been disposed of.
Yes.
Can I just interrupt you and ask you to clarify which premises were then being targeted for search and seizure?
So it was the business premises of Toshan Pandey, his residence, where he lived, the residence of Madhu, the residence of Narayan Prasad, and also the offices. But as I said, Chair, also the financial department, where we wanted to seize documents, and also at the ORS that were responsible for the deployment of police officers.
So you had obtained search and seizure warrants, is that right?
That's correct, Chair.
In respect of the people and the premises that you have talked about?
That's correct, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Can you please explain then the circumstances of how those search and seizure warrants were executed?
Chair, as I said, that I was a bit concerned that if this whole team descended upon provincial headquarters and started searching the offices, there might be a small little nuclear explosion in the building. So we devised this plan, and what we did is we assembled a group of detectives from the DPCI, and I instructed the investigators not even to tell them what was going to be searched the following day. They assembled the night before, and we targeted a specific day on which the provincial commissioner wanted me to accompany her to a parliamentary legotla. So the plan was...
That's the provincial legislature.
The provincial one, Chair.
Yes.
So the plan was that I would accompany her the following morning, and on entering the building, I would get wind of the story that the officers have been searched. But that was a plan that we had decided upon beforehand.
The plan was that as you were entering the building of the provincial legislature,
That's correct.
that's when you would, so to speak, get the wind of the offices being searched. That was the plan.
That's correct, Chair.
Okay.
So I would then inform her,
Yeah.
and I knew by then it would be too late because she cannot tell the politicians, I'm going
Yes.
now,
Yes.
I've better things to do. So what happened is the night before, in spite of the fact that I told the guys not to tell them who we're going to search, whose residences we're going to search the following day, they assembled the following morning at 6 o'clock. They waited for me to give them
An instruction.
the sign that we were about to enter the legotla, and that's when they started with the search. I then informed the PC that there was a search underway, but by then we were both bogged down with the politicians, so she couldn't do anything.
Yes.
But in spite of the fact that we tried to keep it secret somehow, and I'd instructed the night before that they do not tell the searchers who was going to be searched. And in spite of that, they told them, although the people were selected, the following morning it was clear that at least Mr. Tosh Mpanda had been alerted that there was going to be a search executed on his premises. In any event, Chair, all those premises were searched. When they came to Pandai's premises, he was nowhere to be found at his residence. They then phoned him and he said to them, no, he was in Newcastle. Actually, Newcastle is probably about 3.5 to 4 hours drive from Umhlanga Rocks. When the investigators indicated to him that they're going to wait there for him, he arrived there about half an hour later. So he must have been in the vicinity. And that's why we suspect he got wind of, well, someone must have informed him that we were going to do those searches. But be that as it may, Chair, a number of documents were seized from the respective premises, files, documents and computer files were confiscated from SABC, from the various departments. But one of the concerning matters was that the report that Vasant Subramani gave me, that's now the first one, which I'd given to the PC. She had asked me for the copy, and I'd also given a copy to Ntanjana. That same document was found at the premises of Colonel Naveen Madhu.
One of the suspects.
One of the suspects, Chair.
Yes.
Chair, as I said earlier on, Subramani had given me the report.
Yes.
He wasn't going to give it to the suspects. I most certainly did not give it to the suspects. The only two people I gave it to was
Ntanjana and the provincial
and the
commissioner.
provincial commissioner. That's correct, Chair.
Yes.
I then first approached Ntanjana, and he assured me that he had nothing to do with it, and he even showed me the copy that he still had. I then went to the PC and I said to her, look, this is what transpired, and I feel very unhappy about it. And she was very dismissive, and she said, anyone could have given it to them, and she just dismissed me as if...
Yeah, as if this was nothing serious.
That's correct, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
In that regard, can I quickly take you to soft file exhibit ZE? and in particular JB 1.1, which starts at page 5. Is this in fact the report that you were now referring to in your evidence?
That's the report, Chair.
Can I ask you?
I'm sorry. By the way, is that the first report, the one that you got from Subramani?
That's correct, Chair.
Yes, okay. That's the report, a copy of which was found at one of the suspect's premises, residence.
That's
Okay.
correct, Chair.
Thank you.
Some important facts that were obtained through investigation is referred at paragraph 3 to paragraph 7 of that report, at page 10 of that same bundle.
What's the question?
There were certain facts that were discovered through the investigation, which went to the gravity of the investigation itself. Can I ask you to please, from paragraph 2 to 7, to read that into the record?
Well, he might not need to read, but just to say if he knows, but if he doesn't know, he can read, to simply say some of the new facts that are referred to are the following: 1, 2, 3, 4. But if he doesn't know, then he can read.
Are you aware of these facts, sir?
Chair, as I said earlier on, this second report,
This appears to be the first report.
sorry?
This is the first
Okay.
report.
Yeah, that was my understanding from what you said as
Okay.
well. Mm.
Please proceed.
Okay, so Chair, what's contained in this report, I cannot recall the detail, but I was
Yes.
aware of this.
Yeah, you are aware of it,
That's correct,
Okay,
Chair.
all right.
Can you please then place this detail on record by reading in paragraphs 2 to 7?
In paragraph 2, Mr. Toshan Pandey, owing to the vast amounts of profit generated from his dealings with the SAP, managed to purchase a 2009 model Ferrari California at a purchase price of 2 million to 2.5 million rand. He paid a deposit of 510,000 rand. The purchase of his car was done in the first week of May 2010. A brief perusal of the Nedbank bank statements of Gold Coast Trading obtained via Section 205 revealed startling activities. The bank account was opened in 2007, but the request for the statements from January 2009 to 17 May was done. The activity between January 2009 to October 2009 shows that Gold Coast Trading was actually struggling financially, with several checks returned unpaid or deliberately cancelled by the drawer. However, from the first payment received from the SAP on 20 November 2009, the financial woes of Gold Coast Trading came to an abrupt end. It appears so profitable that from the 20th of November 2009 to the 24th of December 2009, the SAP paid 2.75043 million into the account of Gold Coast Trading. The accommodation for during this period from the Nedbank account totaled 475,188 rand. On the 5th of January 2010, the SAP paid the total in one payment of 1.303460, that must be million, into the account of Gold Coast Trading CC. On the 1st March of 2010, the SAP paid a total in one payment
I'm sorry, did you mention that figure there? I think it's 1,894,000, was it 18 million? In number 5.
Chair, the number that he sought to clarify, paragraph 4,
Yeah.
appears to be 1,303,460.
Yes.
And the number at paragraph 5, if I'm reading correctly, is 1,894,200 rand.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. You may continue.
Thank you, Chair. In paragraph 6, on 28 April 2010, the SAP made 2 payments into the account of Gold Coast Trading for 5 million rand and 536,780 rand respectively. On 11 May 2010, the SAP made 2 payments of 1,795 million rand and 108,000 rand respectively into the account of Gold Coast Trading. The bank statements have to be analysed in order to trace all the funds received and transferred and paid out, as there appears to be a great deal of activity on the account. At this stage, the only income into the account of Gold Coast Trading CC has been received from SABC. All other accounts of Gold Coast Trading, the personal accounts of Toshan Panda and his spouse, have to be obtained and further analysed.
Chair, I'm not sure if it was stated correctly, but just to err on the side of caution, the number at paragraph 7, the first number, which is on the 11th of May, SAP made 2 payments of 1,795,000 rand and 108,000 rand respectively into the account of Gold Coast Trading.
That's what I read it, Chair.
Thank you.
Were you concerned about whether he got the number correct?
Yes, Chair.
Okay. Okay. Well, it's written, the first one or the second one on 7?
The first one, Chair.
Yeah.
Which is
It's
1,795,000
rand.
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Okay. That's how it looks. Why is there a problem with this? What is your leader saying?
I understand that reference was made to 1,795 million.
Oh, by the witness?
Yes, Chair.
Oh, okay, well, I think he does say now that whatever he may have said, the amount is 1,795,000 rand. Is that correct, Chair?
That's correct, Chair.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
If I can then take you to paragraph 47, which is on page 14 of your statement. Apologies, your affidavit. During the investigation, were any monies paid to Mr. Toshan Pandey?
Chair, the investigators indicated to me that the total sum that appears to have been fraudulently procured / acquired was 60 million rand, of which 45 million rand had already been paid out to the company of Toshan Pandey, and there was 15 million rand which was about to be paid out to him.
If I can then take you to page 15, paragraph 48.
I know that you did say that you would be jumping around in the statement,
Yes, Chair.
but it's a little frustrating because one is not able to follow exactly what the story is. I don't know whether it's because I don't have something that says these are the events that we are going to be following. Because if there's a statement, you just look, one looks there. I'm not sure whether you would be able to help me or not, but the jumping around seems to be making it difficult to follow the story.
No problem, Chair. The approach of jumping around, Chair, was on the direction of
Okay.
the leader. But having said that,
Okay,
Chair,
maybe you might just I don't know if it would help just to say these are the events that we will follow. Then from this event we go to this and we go to that. That might help if I know, but you might not have that ready, so that might make it difficult. Do the best that you can.
As it pleases. Chair, if I may, the timeline that was prepared, which is in Exhibit ZD, in fact consolidates all of the events in sequential order relevant to the affidavit that has been given and the supplementary affidavits that have been given.
This?
Yes, Chair.
Yeah.
So if I could point you in the direction, with your leave, to the third block on the far right-hand side. It talks to during the investigation.
Would it be more convenient if we gave these blocks numbers? Then you can say
No problem.
we go to block number so and so. Then we all know.
No problem, Chair.
Somebody will need. I think you need to explain what you are doing to the witness. But I guess we'll mark one with the first one that says timeline Pande investigation.
Yes.
And then we go on that line to the left. Major General Poison, maybe I'm sure you'll be able to follow, because we might use block number so and so later on.
Chair, maybe I can explain what happened is when I've drafted the statement.
Yes.
A lot of it comes from a recollection in my memory and then sourcing the documents.
Yes.
So I spent quite a period of time preparing the statement. So,
yes. And it's quite comprehensive.
And while you're doing the statement, there are a number of issues that happen simultaneously. So when I consulted with the advocate, she suggested that we put up this timeline, which is now displayed.
Yes.
So in the statement, the sequence are not exactly
the way they should be
to dates.
Yes.
Whereas this document here gives the exact sequence in terms of timelines.
No, I think probably this will help. It's just that I didn't understand then that it would form the guide of what we start with. So, but I'm just marking them, the blocks 1, 2, 3, so that you can say we are now at block whatever, then I know which one it is.
So just to ensure my block numbering is exactly the same, it would be 6 blocks on top. Is that correct, Chair?
Yes.
Thank you.
So it will be 1, 2, 1 up to 6, and then second line starts from 7 to 12. And then we continue.
Would that be in reverse?
Yes.
Thank you, Chair.
I've ended up on block 30.
30.
Is that correct? Okay, all right. Thank
you. Thank you.
Okay, now we can proceed. At least I should be able to. Yes.
Thank you so much, Chair. So now we are on block 19.
Okay.
In relation to the 15 million...
Is that because we have covered all the other blocks before that?
Chief.
Okay, all right, thank you.
In relation to the 15 million rand payment that had not been made at that time, do you have any comments in relation to the payment of those monies?
Yes, Chair. What happened is my secretary told me that she'd received a call from, according to her, the brother of the then state president, Mr. Jacob Zuma, who wanted to meet with me. So I said to her, in connection with what? And she didn't know in connection with what. So I said to her, where do they want to meet me? And she said, no, she'll find out from them. but it sounded like they wanted to meet me away from the office, or he wanted to meet me away from the office. So I said to my secretary, look, if I'm going to have a meeting with anyone, it's going to happen in my office. Subsequent to that, she told me that there had been another call, but she then took ill and she was admitted to a hospital. And I think she was off sick for probably about a month or so. And no sooner had she returned, she received another call from, which she said was the brother of the then state president, Mr. Jacob Zuma. So I said to Elaine, look, if they want to see me, they can make an appointment, and it's got to come through the office to make it legitimate, which she did. I do understand that she did record that in a diary as well. I think it was around about the beginning of June then.
2010.
2010, Chair.
Yes.
She set down the meeting for, I think it was the first week in June. And then the gentleman arrived at my office. Another friend of mine was present at the office at the time. He just happened to drop by, this friend of mine. And then a gentleman came in and introduced himself as Edward Zuma, who I then realized was not the brother of the then state president, it was actually the son of the then state president, Edward Zuma. Now, after we'd exchanged greetings, and incidentally, Edward knew the friend of mine who happened to drop by in my office, and they joked about a few things. And so eventually we got down to business and we started talking. And he started talking about the 15 million rand which I had frozen. And then he asked me if it's possible for me to unfreeze the money. So I said to him, but what's your interest in this money? He said to me, no, he's a silent partner with Toshon Pandey, and he's not getting his dividends because I'd frozen the money. So I said to him, but did you invest into the business of Toshon Pandey? And he said, yes. I said, how much did you invest? He said, no, he had invested 900,000 rand. So I said to him, look, let me give you some advice. Go and approach Mr. Toshon Pandey and tell him you want your 900,000 rand back, and take your money and walk away and never look back again. And we laughed, and he said, no, that's what he was going to do. And I made it clear to him, I cannot unfreeze the money because I'll make myself complicit in a commission of a crime. That will be corruption in itself. Unless there's legitimate documents to release, I cannot do that. And we spoke a while about generalities, and after that he left.
As the conversation between you and Mr. Edward Zuma was taking place, your friend was there, present?
He was present, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Has there ever been any issue since that visit by Mr. Edward Zuma about him attending your office on that particular day?
Chair, a couple of months later, there was a traditional, well, cultural, traditional event at Nkandla. And this very friend of mine who happened to be in the office, he was invited to the cultural event. I got a phone call from the event, but I did not know it was from the event. And it was this friend of mine, and he said to me, hold on, someone wants to speak to you.
Who was it from?
So
you got a call from somebody who said...
From the same friend of mine.
Yes.
Who was in my office on the day.
Yes,
when Edward Zuma visited me.
Yes.
So it was a couple of weeks later, could have been a month or two later, I received this call, and he said to me, I'm here at Nkandla, where I'm attending this cultural event. So he said, hold on, someone wants to speak to you. So he handed the phone to someone else, and it was Edward Zuma. And he said, hey, hello, boyson, and we laughed and joked, and I said, I hope you heeded my advice. And he laughed. He said, no, I heeded your advice. So we joked and laughed about it, but it became clear afterwards he never heeded my advice. And then we said goodbye to each other.
So it appears that the call was just about him wanting to greet you.
I don't know who initiated the call, whether it was my friend or whether it was him, Chair.
Yes, but ultimately the discussion was nothing more nothing more than just greeting.
That's it, Chair.
Okay.
Has Mr. Edward Zuma ever denied having visited you on that day?
Chair, what happened is, at some stage, this thing leaked into the media domain. So initially, he admitted that he had been there and denied the conversation. Then later on, he denied emphatically that he had been to my office. So I don't know which one of the two, but the last time that I heard him going public, he denies having been to my office.
Can I ask you to turn to page 88 of your main affidavit?
So maybe before we proceed, just to go back to the 15 million rand, before Mr. Edward Zuma's visit to your office, you said there was an amount of about 15 million rand, which you had discovered was about to be paid out by SAPS.
That's correct, Chair.
To be paid out to Mr. Pandey's company?
That's correct, Chair.
Yes, and you had given instructions that that should not happen.
I did, so I wrote to our financial department, Chair, and I told him not to release the money.
Yes.
Because it's subject to a corruption investigation.
Yes.
And I indicated that if the money should be paid out, that could be another form of corruption.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
If I can take you to page 88, if you are there.
Which page?
Page 88 of your main affidavit. It's annexure JWB4. Is it correct that this is an affidavit that the Commission's investigators obtained?
That is correct, Chair.
Please identify the document.
Chair, it's a statement by Elaine Regina Lachnana, who at the time was my secretary.
And if you could read from this paragraph 3, second sentence, which starts with according to. I'll appreciate that.
So this is the statement from Elaine Lachnana. According to my recollection, a person who identified himself as Mr. Edward Zuma requested an appointment with Major General Boyson. Mr. Zuma called several times to secure appointment, a date which I do not recall was agreed upon after consulting with Major General Boyson. Mr. Edward Zuma did not inform me as to what the meeting was about. Mr. Edward Zuma did arrive on the day agreed upon and met with Major General Boyson in General Boyson's office. I do not recall how long the meeting was, and after the meeting, Mr. Zuma left.
And this is in fact an affidavit that was deposed to on the 23rd of November 2018, is that correct?
That's correct, Chair.
Just for the record, Elaine is spelled E-L-A-I-N-E. The second name, which is Regina, is spelled R-E-G-I-N-A, and the surname is spelled L-A-T-C-H-A-N-A-H. There is one particular event which is not included in this particular timeline. And to that extent, I would like to take you to Exhibit ZC. And in particular, page 3 of this bundle. Paragraphs 7 to 10 documents events that took place after Mr. Edward Zuma attended your office. Can you please inform the Chair of such events?
Chair, what happened is a friend of mine, who I mentioned earlier, I requested him to seek an audience with the then state president to enlighten him to what his son was up to. So he arranged this meeting, and I traveled with him to Nkandla. I had two meetings, so I'll describe the first meeting. So the first meeting, we arrived there at Nkandla. I was asked to wait outside, and my friend, obviously being privy to what Edward was up to, he went in and he spoke to the then state president, Mr. Zuma. A while later, he came out and I greeted the president, and I did not have any discussions with him. So we got into my friend's car and we left, departed for home. So I said to my friend, what happened? He says, no, the president doesn't want to get involved. So I left it at that. Much later, I again said to my friend, I want to have another meeting with the president. He arranged a meeting again. And if I recall correctly, I think it was a Sunday. We left very early in the morning. So we arrived at Nkandla. And this time around, I entered the actual house where we found the then state president, Mr. Zuma. We exchanged greetings, but there were no discussions about any formal issues. Him and my friend then excused themselves. They went into an adjacent room. And I got up and I walked outside and to just have a look at the area there. About 15 minutes later, they came back. They called me back into the lounge. In the lounge, we sat, and the Edward Zuma matter wasn't discussed at all by myself. So we sat around, and once again, we spoke about the politics of the day and a few other issues. And I think I still posed with a photograph with the then state president, and we left. When we got into my friend's car, he said to me, look, he'd spoken to the president about his son's stories, and we should go and speak to Kolabushe.
And who was that? Kolubuse?
That's correct.
Okay. Yes.
The nephew.
That was the nephew.
That's correct.
That's your understanding, yes. Mm.
But I've met Kolabushe before that, Chair, on social occasions. I've met him once or twice. Mm. So I said to my friend, okay, but where's Kolabushe? He says, no, he's in one of the places here in Nkandla. So we drove there, and it was like a big rondavel, and we knocked on the door. And he was busy also with a cultural story where he had to seclude himself from society. He was lying on a mattress on the bed, and we walked inside, we greeted him, and my friend explained to him what the president had said, and then Kolabushe said, look, he'll speak to Edward to stop his nonsense, but the reason why he suspects the president did not want to engage Edward himself is, number one, they were not on good terms at that point in time, for two reasons. The one being that Edward was drinking too much, I assume drinking too much alcohol, and the second reason being that Edward had bought a house in the Durban North area, and he hadn't invited his father to the cultural opening of the residence. And then he said, no, he'll go and speak to Edward to stop his nonsense, but that's where it ended.
What informed your insistence to seek an audience with former President Jacob Zuma?
I think it was important. Here you have the son of the state president getting involved with serious corruption issues within the police. And I felt it incumbent upon myself, rightly or wrongly so, to alert the state president what his son was busy with.
Mm-hmm. Did your friend who accompanied you know what the purpose of the visit was? Let's talk about the first visit.
He did both. On both occasions, he did, Chair.
Yes. And you had asked him to facilitate the meeting.
I did, Chair.
And when you left for Nkandla, your understanding was that the meeting had been facilitated and that the former president was expecting you, or would be expecting you to arrive.
That's correct, Chair.
Yes. But when you arrived at his residence in Kandla, you said you never entered the room, or you did enter?
The first time.
The first time, you did enter.
No, the first time I didn't enter. I waited outside, Chair.
Is that you remained in the yard? Or
In the yard, Chair.
in the yard, and your friend entered a certain
He
room.
entered.
And he emerged later on
That's correct, Chair.
and made a certain report to you about what his discussion inside the room were, how it went.
That's correct, Chair.
Yes, but you left without meeting the former president yourself.
That's correct, Chair.
Yes. And the report that you got from your friend was that the former president didn't want to get involved.
That's the case, Chair.
Yes. And then sometime later, you made another trip to Nkandla, another visit.
That's correct, Chair.
And that one had been facilitated by your friend again as well?
The same friend, Chair.
Yes. On that occasion, you did enter the room.
I did, Chair.
And at some stage in the room were yourself, your friend, and the former president. But for a certain period of time, the former president and your friend moved into another adjacent room.
That's correct, Chair.
And you were left in the other room.
That's good, Chair.
And then they came back later on, and you talked about other things, but not about the purpose of your meeting.
That's an accurate description, Chair.
Yeah, and later on, your friend told you that the former president did not want to be involved and said maybe you people could speak to Kulubuse.
That's correct,
That's
Chair.
the report you got.
That's correct, Chair.
And then you went to see Kulubuse.
That's so, Chair.
And Kulubuse's attitude was that he would talk to Mr. Edward Zuma, but from what you said, it's like he was disapproving of something about Kulubuse. Is that right? I thought you said something like nonsense. I thought you said something that he must stop his nonsense or whatever.
That's correct, Chair.
Yes,
Yeah.
was that coming from Kulubuse?
Chair, there's a discussion between us.
Yeah.
I might have used it that he must stop his
okay,
nonsense, and
okay.
he agreed to that.
Okay. But now you had wanted to see the former president because you believed that he should know about this, the involvement of Mr. Edward Zuma.
That's right, Chair.
I assume with Mr. Pandey.
That's right.
That's what that you wanted to.
That's right, Chair.
To alert him to.
That's right.
So you ended up alerting Kulubuse, and he said he would talk to Edward Zuma.
That's correct, Chair.
Was your understanding that he was going to talk to him with the idea that he must stop something or stop being involved with somebody, or what was your understanding of what the purpose was going to be of talking to him?
You see, Chair, what happened is, in that period, there was a lot of speculation in the media. He'd been to my office, no, he hadn't been.
Mm-hmm.
Then he started making public statements, and I wanted him to back off, that was now Edward, and stop his nonsense, if he still had any connection with Tasha Pandey.
Mm-hmm.
So my understanding with Kulubuse was that he will tell Edward, leave this nonsense alone. That was my understanding.
Okay.
Did anything result from your visits to Nkandla?
No, Chair.
If we can then move on. Did Mr. Toshan Pandey do anything to try to derail the continuing investigation? And we are now in block 20.
I'm sorry, before you get an answer to that, I think you have got the spelling for Kulubuse Zuma incorrectly there. There is no A instead of the A there. After L, there should be U. And the H before the E at the end should not be there.
Yes. Thank you so much, Chair. Apologies for that.
Yes.
At paragraph 20 of our timeline, my question to you is, did Mr. Toshon Pandey do anything to try to derail the continuing investigation against him?
He did, Chair.
Please provide details in
Chair,
relation to that.
It's quite leading when you ask him that, in that way, but it's okay. Yeah,
Chair, so
what did Pandey do in regard to these investigations?
Chair, I was busy attending a seminar in Kempton Park on domestic violence when I received a call from one of the warrant officers at the Cato Manor unit, Warrant Officer Paul Mostert. Mostert informed me that he had received a call from a person by the name of Toshon Pandey who wanted to meet up with him. And he had told Toshon Pandey he was a bit busy. He says then an hour or so later he received another call from this person introducing himself as Toshon Pandey, who said to him, now he's close to their office, Mostert's office, and that he should meet him at the garage, which was just around the corner, which he then did. He then arrived there where he met the gentleman Toshon Pandey. Toshon Pandey then said to him, look, there's been a search on our premises and the police confiscated some files. And he referred to one specific file, being the most important file, but he knew exactly how many files had been confiscated. And he said to him, these files are being kept in an office in Field Street. And then he said to Mostert, I would like you to steal those files, failing which you have to set the building alight. And if you do that, you can name your price. So Mostert said to me, now he then told Pandey, now you couldn't get involved in something like this. So I still said to him, we call him Mosi, I said, hey, Mosi, you should have actually engaged him and we could have gotten Section 252A authority. By that I mean authority from the Director of Public Prosecutions to proceed with an ostensible unlawful activity. I said to him, look, why don't you phone him back and say to him, you thought about it, you've got a price, and then let's see if we cannot organize a Section 252 operation. I then immediately phoned the DPP's office. What I normally do is I have a Captain Henny Pelser at my office who coordinates all the Section 252A operations in the province. So I phoned him and I said to him, look, you should immediately get authority, 252 authority from the DPP. I'm flying back to Durban from Johannesburg. They should get all the paperwork done. I then also phoned a Colonel Carl van der Vyver from Crime Intelligence, and I said to him, I'm flying back. We've got Section 252 authority that they should rig up one of the vehicles. By that I mean they should wiretap it so that we can record the conversations. Which they did, and the following day, Mostert phoned Pandey back to tell him, look, he rethought his position, and he'd like to meet him. They did meet again, but I think Pandey must have gotten suspicious. He wouldn't get into the vehicle, and the way he spoke to Mostert then, according to Mostert, was that he was almost like he couldn't even remember that the previous meeting had taken place. So I suspect that he knew we were up to something. So nothing came of that Section 252 operation.
But when the person you refer to as, did you say Moses? Moser?
Mostert, we call him
Mostert.
No, we call him Mosi.
Or Mostert.
That's right, Chair.
That was a colonel in the SAPS.
A warrant officer.
A warrant officer in Gauteng.
No.
In KZN.
In KZN at the Cato Manor unit.
Oh, okay. So he got a call from Mr. Pandey at a time when he was with you? No, he was not with you when he got the call.
Yeah, he was at the office in Cato Manor, which is just outside Durban,
yes.
And I was here in Kempton Park.
So he just reported to you about this call.
That's correct.
And when he reported to you, he had already met with Mr. Pandey? Oh, okay, all right. Okay, so you say that after he told you how his discussion with Mr. Pandey had gone, you said he should actually have handled it differently so that you could possibly execute a Section 205 subpoena.
No, Chair. We wanted to do a Section 252A operation.
Yes, okay.
In
And what
terms of
does
the
that
Criminal
involve?
Procedure Act.
What does that involve?
Chair, normally we get Section 252A authorization to engage in a criminal activity. For instance, if I can give an example, if we want to buy drugs from a drug dealer,
Yes.
we have to apply for a Section 252A authorization from the DP. There's a designated advocate from the DPP's office,
Yes.
who will then give us that authority. And the reason for that being is policemen would sometimes engage in
criminal
activities, and when they get caught, they say, no, I was busy with an operation.
Yes, yeah. So this is to make sure that if it's legitimate, there is proof.
Yeah, so it legitimizes
That which otherwise is criminal.
That's right, Chair.
Yes, okay. Because if you don't have it, then you can't say it was legitimate.
That's indeed so, Chair.
Yeah. Okay, so that was arranged, and in order for this to work, Mr. Pandey and Mostert were supposed to meet, and Mr. Pandey was supposed to get into the car. That would have been wired, I think you said.
That's correct, Chair.
The conversation that they would have had would have been recorded. But that recording didn't take place because Mr. Pandey didn't want to get into the car.
That's indeed so, Chair.
Yeah, and you say that they did engage in a conversation outside of the car, but Mr. Pandey was speaking on the basis that he had no recollection of the previous discussion.
That's right, Chair.
Yeah, okay, all right.
So it's your evidence that Mr. Toshan Pandey must have suspected something. Is that correct?
That's what I suspect what happened, and that's why I would not engage with Mostert on that particular day, Chair.
And was this a few days after the first encounter that the two of them had when Mr. Pandey had made this request to Mostert?
That was the following day, Chair.
The following day.
I immediately flew back. I excused
Yes.
myself from the seminar, and I immediately flew back.
Yeah. So there's no way that Mr. Pandey would have genuinely forgotten about that conversation.
No, Chair.
Yeah. Okay.
General Boyson, did you...
And if that is so, clearly he had either got wind of something or he had looked at the whole thing and thought there was something that Mostert was up to.
Chair, later on in my evidence, Pandey was always very suspicious of certain events that took place, and I'll perhaps elaborate on that a bit later on in my evidence.
Okay, thanks.
General Boyson, did you establish any reason for how Mr. Toshan Pandey may have suspected something?
Chair, what happened is, during the investigation, we applied for Act 70 interceptions for the benefit of the public. Act 70 interceptions is where we as investigators through crime intelligence apply to the designated judge, of which there's one, I think he's based in Pretoria, where we have to put in a motivation to legally intercept the communications of a suspect under investigation. At the time, there was an application for such interceptions, and Pandey's communications were intercepted at the time. And crime intelligence who dealt with these interceptions then informed me that a certain conversation had taken place in which they intercepted a call between a colonel that had worked under my command, Colonel W.S. Mhlongo. And I actually listened to some of the conversations. And I, in fact, at a later stage, confronted W.S. Mhlongo, the colonel, with certain discussions that took place between him and Tashon Pandey. He obviously knew he couldn't deny it because I mentioned specifics to him. And he said to me, no, he had phoned him because they were comrades in the ANC. But as far as I'm concerned, that was nonsense. So W.S. was one of the colonels that reported to me, but he had also worked in the same building where the investigators had worked. The significance of that, Chair, is the exhibits that were seized, I did not even know where they were kept. I only established much later that they were kept at, because the colonels that were involved with this investigation, some of them were Scorpion members. So they still had an office in Field Street. And that's where they kept the exhibits. So I didn't even know that the exhibits were kept there until Mostert had told me that the exhibits were there. So we concluded from our investigations that the only person that could have told Pandey where those exhibits were kept must have been Colonel W.S. Mhlongo. There were other communication intercepts between the two as well, which related to compromising this very investigation.
Did Colonel Mhlongo have any relationship with Advocate Nomgcobo Jiba?
Chair, yes. When I became the head of the Hawks in KZN, there was a project, and I cannot recall what it was called exactly, where I had to authorize his secondment to the National Prosecuting Authority, where they were going to try and find people that were murdered in the apartheid dispensation, which I authorized. So he spent quite some time working with the NPA, but it was common cause amongst the investigators that he had a close relationship with Advocate Moipona Noko, who was the DPP. Well, she later became the DPP. She was first acting and later then became the DPP. Much later, in events that would follow, at the time that Advocate Nkolisi Nkasana was appointed as the NDPP, I was informed that W.S. Mhlongo was clandestinely trying to find dirt on Advocate Nkasana. And that information of mine was confirmed in a statement which I obtained from a person by the name of Terence Joubert from the National Prosecuting Authority. If my memory serves me correctly, I think that statement was attached to an affidavit deposed to by Advocate Nkasana in a High Court matter in the Western Cape. I speak under correction. But in that statement, Terence Joubert states that W.S. Mhlongo had approached him to find dirt on Advocate Nkasana at the behest of Advocate Jiba.
In that regard, could I take you then to page 78 of your affidavit, please? Main affidavit. Do you recognize this document?
I do, Chair.
Please identify the document.
Chair, it's an affidavit by Terence John Hubert, and it was signed, which appears to be signature, I don't know him personally. It was signed in Durban on the 25th of November 2013.
For the benefit of the record, can I ask you to read paragraph 3 and 5 into the record, please?
Paragraph 3. On the 18th of September 2013, I was on duty and was supposed to fetch Advocate Jiba, from the Ushaka International Airport. After making the arrangements, I got a call from Advocate Jiba's secretary to say that she would be fetched by Colonel Mshlongo on instructions from the DPP KZN. Colonel Mshlongo is currently seconded to the NPA's Missing Persons Unit that is headed by Deborah Quinn in the province and by Sean Abrams at VGM. Their job is to assist members of the NPA to obtain information by interviewing witnesses to conclude the investigations. Shortly after the meeting between Advocate Jiba and Colonel Mshlongo, Colonel Mshlongo, came to me in my office and told me that the new guy, referring to the new NDPP, Mr. Nkasana, does not like Advocate Jiba and Advocate Ngwebi. He's aware that I do have a great relationship with Advocate Ngwebi, and he was playing on my emotions. I asked why he thought so, and he said that he was sent by Jiba, as she's convinced that this guy is not the right person for the job, and that we should try and find something on him, as they did against Mr. Gumede. Mr. Gumede was the first person that we had heard about who would have been appointed the NDPP. The DPP had then insisted that Advocate Makosi, in brackets prosecutor, make a statement against Mr. Gumede concerning the matter in which he, Mr. Gumede, had ill-treated her. This incident gave us indications as to the kind of people we were dealing with and to what lengths these people would go to get their way. Colonel Mshlongo was instrumental in mobilizing people to gang up against Mr. Gumede.
And the last paragraph being paragraph 5, please.
I told him that this would be playing with fire, as we all are all small fries. When elephants fight, the grass suffers, was my comment to his suggestion. Colonel Mshlongo assured me that the efforts would not be in vain, as Jiba had said, if this man, in brackets Mr. Nkasana, is removed, then she would be appointed again. The plan was not whether Mr. Nkasana is guilty, but the mere fact that they wanted to embarrass him and insist that he be removed.
Thank you. And just for the avoidance of doubt, this is the affidavit of Terence John Hubert.
That's correct, Chair.
Thank you. Moving on to block 21 of our timeline. And if I may perhaps start with, my understanding is that section 252A processes are referred to as sting operations. Is that correct?
That's correct, Chair.
Okay. Was there, or rather, what happened on the 24th of August 2011?
Chair, I was approached by one of my warrant officers at the time, warrant officer, well, he was a sergeant, then he's a warrant officer, Nadina Govender. And he indicated to me that Colonel Naveen Madhu, the guy that we're investigating, sought an audience with me. He wanted to see me. So I asked him, I don't have a problem, he can come and see me.
And if I can interrupt you, Colonel Madhu is the person who was being investigated in the Tashan Pandey investigation. Is that correct?
That's correct, Chair.
Please proceed.
So, Chair, the following day, he again phoned me and he said to me that Colonel Madhu would want to see me. Actually, he sounded a bit agitated because he said that Madhu had phoned him and accused him of for not wanting to facilitate a meeting between the two of us. So he said, can I meet Colonel Madhu? I said, no, I'm fine, I can meet him. So I asked him where would they like to meet, and he said to me at Jaipur Palace, which is halfway between Durban and Durban North.
Is that a restaurant?
A restaurant, that's right, Chair.
Thank you.
So I said to him, no, let's rather meet at the Langeni Hotel, which is very close walking distance from my office. And we agreed. So I immediately got in my car, and it took me about 2 minutes to get to the Langeni Hotel. And on my arrival there, they hadn't arrived yet. So I went upstairs, one floor up, where I could see down into the reception area of the hotel. I waited a while and I didn't see them coming, so I phoned Governor back, Dina Governor back, and I said to him, are you guys still coming? But as I was speaking to him, he said, no, we just arrived, and I saw them coming, him and Colonel Madhu. Madhu was dressed in a leather jacket, and he had a laptop bag in his hand. So they came up the staircase, and exchanged greetings.
And just remind me again, I think I may have missed the name, or who is the person that was coming to you together with Madhu?
It was a warrant officer, Dina Govender.
Okay.
He also worked under my command.
Okay.
At the time.
Yes.
But he had nothing to do with him. I think he was friends with Madhu.
Oh, okay.
Chair, so once we had sat down, there was a bench, and the two of them sat across from me, and we spoke for a while, and then Madhu said he wanted to speak to me on my own. Now I don't know in private. So I don't know if it was pre-arranged between Madhu and Governor, that Governor would then excuse himself, but when he said that, Governor just got up and he walked away out of earshot distance from where we were.
Yes.
Madhu then took out his laptop and opened his laptop in front of me, started setting it up, and he switched it on, and he turned the laptop, and if you look at files, those little red squares there, then you would prompt one of the squares, and up came a picture of a person that's obviously dead. And then you'll press another one, another person dead. But it was obvious to me that all those photographs came from police files. They were people.
Did you say that the pictures that he was showing were pictures of dead people?
Yes, Chair.
Oh, okay. So he opened this laptop before he could say anything after the other person had left, the two of you?
That's right, Chair.
Yeah, okay.
So he would go to a couple of photographs like that, but then it didn't make sense to me because all those photographs were photographs that clearly came from police files, from police dockets.
Yes.
Because you could see the police cordon tape was there, and the cones were there, and the circles, and the spray where they marked exhibits.
Was he opening the laptop in such a way that you should see the pictures, or you just happened to see,
No.
but they were not meant for you
No,
to
he
see?
showed me the pictures.
Oh, he was showing you
No,
the pictures?
he showed me the pictures.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then I said to him, but these are normal police photos. Well, what's this all about? Then he said to me, no, but you can get more pictures. I said, well, I'll get more pictures. And then he said to me, he started by saying there's a lot of stress at home, obviously referring to the ongoing investigation. And then he said to me, is it possible for me to assist them in the investigation? So I said to him, how do you mean assist you in the investigation? I was taken aback. Because, I mean, in my position for a colonel to approach me and he's a suspect and the subject of the investigation, to approach me to assist them in the investigation was unheard of. So I said to him, and how can I help you in the investigation? He then said to me that I'm in possession of a report by the investigators. Chair, so what happens in the police?
So he was saying that you are in possession of a certain police investigation report.
That's correct, Chair.
Yeah, okay.
Chair, if I can just explain, normally in the police, it's a police habit, especially if you're in a management position. When you get a document on your table, we normally take the date stamp it, and initial it. That's indication in the future when you received it, when it landed on your table. So he said to me, I've got this report, a progress report, and he actually named the report. That was the same one that Basan Subramani had given me.
The first or the second?
First one, Chair.
Yeah. Oh.
So he said to me, that document hasn't got that stamp and that signature of mine on it.
Yes.
And he said to me, it has, and the report itself is not dated. He said, if I would take that report of mine and antedate it to a date before the application for the Section 205 subpoenas went in, that would mean that the information in that report was acquired before the Section 205 subpoenas were authorized. And at the same time, they had this that was more or less at the same time that they had the High Court application for the 205s to be set aside.
So that's now him and who, and Mr. Pandey? You say that is when they had an application to set aside the 205s.
That's correct, Chair.
Yeah, so I'm asking who they is.
Chair, I cannot remember who deposed to the
he was one of them.
Yeah, he was one of them.
Okay.
I cannot remember who deposed to the founding affidavit and who made a supplementary.
Yeah.
I cannot recall that. But be that as it may, there was this application to have the 205
but
set
Mr.
aside.
Pandey was one of the people who were behind the application.
Chair, as I say, I cannot recall who deposed to the founding affidavit and who made a supplementary.
Okay.
So, Chair, so the idea was for me to antedate this, which would have invalidated the actual 205s.
Mm-hmm.
And when we had the 205s, that put the investigators in a position to acquire the search warrants and the seizure of those exhibits. So it had the potential, if I had done that, it had the potential to compromise the entire investigation.
But was he not asking you to put a date on the report that would have been prior to the 205s?
That's what he did, Chair.
But how would that invalidate the 205s?
So, Chair, the information on the report itself was information about that you could only have acquired by means of a 205. Because it was information pertaining to the bank statements.
Oh, okay.
So if they gave me a progress report with their bank details, and I received it before the date of the application for the 205s, that meant they already had the information.
Yes.
And then they applied for the 205s.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
So I said to him, look, I don't know how far this investigation had gone, but what I'll do is I'll speak to the investigating officer. And that was the agreement, and then we left.
But what was the point about these pictures of dead people that he was showing you? Was he trying to intimidate you or threaten you? What was the point?
Chair, I think it was a subtle means of trying to intimidate me. He comes from supply chain management, so I don't know. I've seen plenty of dead bodies. I don't know how many he has seen, been from supply chain management. But like I say, the photographs that I saw were all people that had been either shot by police or that were normal murder scenes.
Okay, so in the end, the request he was making to you was that you assist him and whoever by putting a date on the report that on the first report that you got from Subramani, put a date that would have been prior to the Section 205s, and if you had agreed to do that, that could have led to the invalidation of the 205s.
That's correct, Chair.
Yes, okay. But you parted on the basis that you said you would speak to somebody, to the investigators.
I told him I'll speak to the investigating officer, Chair.
Yes, okay.
Chair, when I left that meeting...
If I can just ensure I too understand the evidence that you've given, is it correct then that it was Mr. Tashin Pandey's bank details which founded, or rather was important to the investigation at hand?
I think it was both Pandey and Madhu's bank details that was important.
Thank you. Is it then correct that a Section 205 was necessary in order to obtain such bank details?
Yes, Chair.
Is it then also correct that the request that was being made to you by Colonel Madhu to predate the report would have had the effect to invalidate those Section 205 subpoenas?
That's correct, Chair.
And would it then be correct to say that the invalidation of the Section 205 subpoenas would have compromised the entire investigation?
That is my view, Chair.
Yes, when we talk about the invalidation, all you mean is because there was a court application pending,
Yeah.
it would have helped the case of those who wanted the court to set aside these 205 applications. That's the point you're making.
Yeah, that's one point, Chair. And another point is in terms of the doctrine of the fruit of the poisonous tree. Once the 205s fell, the search warrants would have fell, and the seizure of those exhibits would have been, we would have had to return those exhibits, which were vital to our investigation.
Yes, okay.
Thank you, Chair. What then transpired once you had this meeting with Colonel Madhu?
Chair, when I left the meeting, and as I said, my office was basically 2 minutes away from there, I immediately phoned the investigating officer, well, the Subramani and Verlochenberg, and asked him to come to my office. I also phoned Captain Pelser, but Captain Pelser sits on the same floor that in which I'm sitting. He's the coordinator for the Section 252A authorities. So I told him, meet me in my office, I'm on my way. So on my arrival at the office, Pelser was already there, and the investigators joined soon afterwards. I explained to him exactly what had transpired at the Elangeni Hotel. So I said to Pelser, go and contact the DPP's office so long and get us authority for, in terms of Section 252A of the CPA. Now, Chair, what normally happens with sting operations with drug-related matters, we normally get verbal authority, and then invariably I'll get a call from the DPP's office. They're still waiting for the affidavits. In this particular instance, I immediately went and sat down and drafted my affidavit as to what had occurred at the hotel. It was sent through to the DPP's office, Advocate Nell, who then authorized 252 engagement with Madhu onwards. I also told...
252 being the operation that you and Moster tried with Pandey.
A very similar one.
Yeah, a similar kind of operation.
Right. Because I did not know what would come of those initial discussions about me assisting them.
Yes.
I also said to the investigating officer that he should document everything that had transpired at the hotel in the actual docket for later references. That same afternoon, the DPP had authorized the Section 252 authorization. It authorized the engagement with Madhu. Chair, the following day I had a meeting at National Head Office, and I first
That
went...
is in Pretoria now.
Yes, in Pretoria. But I'm now still in Durban. So the following morning, I first went to my office and cleared my desk and then to go to the meeting. When I received a call, and one of my other warrant officers from my office picked up my phone, my cell phone, and he gave it to me and he said to me, it's Colonel Madhu. So I took the phone and Madhu said to me, I must come down to the basement of the building where our cars are parked. So I went down, and when I arrived there, he was there in his car. So I got into the car with him. And he then said to me, did I find my report? And I lied to him. I said, no, I can't find my report, the one that they wanted me to alter. So he leaned over backwards and took an envelope from the back seat, a big brown envelope, which he handed to me, and he said to me, that report that you're looking for is inside this envelope, the one I had to put the date stamp on.
Just before you proceed, was it strange that somebody at his level would call you to come to him downstairs, or was there some previous discussion?
No, Chair, it just doesn't work like that in the police where Colonel calls a general down to the basement.
That's what I thought was strange.
Yes.
But you went anyway?
I played along, Chair, because we had the 252As in place.
Oh, because I assume you were still going to contact him in order for you to make arrangements where you would meet so that you could execute your 2052A.
Chair, the meeting happened on the day, and early the following morning I was preparing for a national meeting, so that was not forefront of my mind. I intended engaging him when I got back from Pretoria.
Yes. So, but when he called you and asked you to come downstairs, you were ready to use your operation already, or not really?
Well, Chair, depending what emanated from there, a lot of things could have happened. I did not know why it called me down there.
But you went there.
Be that as it may, we had a 252 in operation, so it would have covered any eventuality that would have flowed from there on.
Mm-hmm. So he gave you a brown envelope and said that report that he was talking about is inside the envelope.
That's right, Chair.
Okay.
Chair, then we had a general discussion as to whether, things doesn't always come for free, or words to that effect. And then he said, no.
Who was saying that now?
I said that.
Yeah, okay.
Then he said to me, Pandey had, I think he said, Pandey had two bar available for me for my cooperation. And he didn't say it at that stage. First what he said is, he said to me, how much do I want? Now, Chair, in my whole police career, no one's ever asked me what I want. For something like that.
Yeah.
And it was very difficult to say the word. So I said to him, look, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to send you a text message. And then I'm going to put a figure there. Then you can add a couple of notes, to which we agreed. And then I left. I then phoned the investigating officer, and I said to him to come to my office immediately. And I gave it, because I had my report. I'd lied to him about not having had it. So I said to the investigating officer, van Lochenburg, I said to Mans, take this thing, send it to forensic, see if you can find DNA or fingerprints on the envelope or what's inside the envelope, which he did. About a week later, van Lochenburg phoned me that the fingerprints found on the envelope was not those of, well, no, the fingerprints found inside on the document weren't those of Madhu, the colonel who had given it to me. So I said to him, look, where can we get a set of fingerprints from Tosh and Pandey? And he said to me, come to think of it, when they searched his premises earlier on, there were a set of fingerprints lying there because he had applied for a firearm license, and they had taken that. So I said to him, well, send that to the fingerprint department, let them compare that. And I think it was about a week after that, he phoned me back and he said to me, it was late in the afternoon, he said to me, the report had come back. The fingerprints on the document, my progress report, which was in the envelope, the fingerprints matched those of Toshampande.
Yes. So you had opened the envelope that Colonel Madu had given you. At some stage, you opened it. You didn't open it.
No, I never opened it. I gave it
You
just
gave
like
it. Yeah, as it was.
Yeah, I never opened it.
Oh, okay. But somebody did open it at some stage?
It was opened at the local criminal record center by the fingerprint experts.
Yes, okay, okay. So they actually found the report that he was talking about inside, or what?
The same report.
Same report, yeah.
Same
Okay.
report.
Thank you.
Your discussion with Colonel Madu entailed you providing a number. Can you please give more detail in relation to what transpired thereafter?
Did you send Madu the figure that you had promised to send?
No, Chair, so what happened the following morning, I then left to go home and pack my bags and fly to Pretoria. I flew to Pretoria, and then the following morning, I was actually sitting with General Dramat in the venue where we were having the meeting when I received a text message from Colonel Madu. And he typed like the kids type nowadays with these short abbreviations. I, General, didn't know where you gone, when you back, with that funny language. And he said, and then he ended off the conversation with a 2 in brackets. And then by then, General Dramat had been alerted to my engagements with Madu, so I still went and showed him the text message that I just received. And we actually joked about it because I thought they thought I was cheap because they were going to give me 20,000 Rand for a 60 million Rand investigation. Chair, okay, after that I went back to Durban after the meeting. I don't know if we wanted to proceed after that.
Oh, you didn't respond immediately to the message from
Chair,
Madu?
I did, and all those conversations have subsequently been captured.
Yes.
Between him and myself. It forms part of the evidence in the docket.
Okay.
The actual SMSs, the timelines have all been captured.
Okay. Thank you.
Please proceed.
Trying to find out where I am now.
You are on page 12, paragraph 39. Alternatively, we could look
Okay.
to
So, Chair, after that...
block 23.
Sorry?
I say it's block 23 or that particular paragraph, but please continue.
So, Chair, in another engagement that I had with Madu, and I must mention now, simultaneous to my engagements with him, we are also running the Act 70 interceptions. So, Colonel Padiachi from Crime Intelligence is telling me exactly how they're discussing, how they've...
Okay, I'm sorry. I know that you said that the interaction between the two of you is captured and is in some docket. Do we have that anywhere here or it's somewhere else? And we will get it at some other stage?
Chair, the docket that I'm talking about...
Is current.
That's the... And I'm going to talk about that later in my evidence because that docket became a big issue eventually.
Yeah.
That docket, as we speak, is with Advocate Wendy O'Brien from the Specialized Commercial Crime Court in Durban, because my understanding is that they are now preparing, after 7 years, a prosecution in these matters. And Chair, it's vast volumes.
Yes. Okay, well, we need to find a way of living out what we get and what we might not get out of that. We just need to find a way of connecting the story. You had received a message from Colonel Matu, and at some stage, I assume you reverted to him, and then something happened. Are you able to say, I did revert to him, and subsequent to that, we have had another engagement or something like that? I just want to see, even if we are not going into the contents of the messages.
So, Chair, the first meeting is at the hotel.
Yes.
The second meeting is the following morning where he gives me the report in the envelope.
In the building.
I then go to Pretoria.
Yes. You get the message.
Subsequent to that, we had another engagement. And most of the engagements were initiated by him. And at a follow-up engagement, when we discussed now...
The engagement is in a meeting form or just talking on the phone?
In cars.
Sorry?
It was always in cars.
Oh, okay.
Clandestinely. In the basement. These meetings took place in the basement.
Okay.
There were other subsequent meetings that took place at McDonald's, but this particular one also took place in the basement.
Yes.
After I'd returned from Pretoria, I engaged with him again, also in the basement. He then gave me another hard drive, in which he said there are more photos on the thing.
Of dead people?
That's correct, Chair.
Oh. And I guess this time, do you ask him what's the point about this, or you still don't ask him?
No, I was playing along with him then,
yes,
Chair,
yeah.
in terms of 252.
Did you pretend you were scared?
Sorry, Chair?
Did you pretend you were scared by this?
No, not really, Chair. I just...
Okay.
Chair, and at one of these subsequent engagements, he said to me, no, Tosh Panda had 2 bar available for my cooperation in this matter.
2 bar?
2 bar. So I know what 2 bar is.
Yeah, what was your understanding of what that
So 2 bar in my mind is 2 million rand.
Yes.
But I thought he doesn't know what 2 bar is because no one gives you 2 million rand. So I thought maybe he's thinking 200,000 rand.
Yes.
So my understanding from the beginning was that they were going to give me 200,000 rand to sign that document and put the date on. Chair, it continued. I had a number of meetings with him, and the day before we did the actual sting operation, one of my detectives was shot and killed, and I attended the funeral. He also came to the funeral.
Around those days?
It was all in the space of a week and a half, Chair.
And we are around mid-2010, or where are we now?
2010, August 2010, Chair.
August 2010, yeah.
If I could...
Just to go back, if I may, the message that you had received from Colonel Matu when you were with General Tramat, where there was a 2, is that the one that made you think he was talking about 20,000?
Then I thought it was 20,000.
At that time?
Only put the 2 there, Chair.
Oh, okay.
But then when he subsequently told me 2 bar, then I thought, no, this man doesn't know what 2 bar is.
Yes.
Maybe he's meaning 200,000.
Okay.
Just one correction. This was now in 2011.
Or 2011, yeah. Okay.
Chair, on the day before we did the actual operation, which I'll refer to as the sting operation, or 2 days before that, I can't remember, I met him at the funeral. Well, he came to the funeral. And after the funeral, he came up to me and he said to me, I mustn't forget to write, and he gave me the date.
To backdate the report.
Yeah, but he wanted a specific date. And I took this very pen, which I always carry with me, and I took it out and I said to him, give me a piece of paper. So he took out his wallet and he gave me a piece of paper, and he gave me the date, which I wrote down on the piece of paper. So I said, okay, and he said, no, that's fine. I said, okay, now I won't forget. When he left, I turned the piece of paper around, and it was an ATM slip from his bank account. So on my return back to my office, I called in the investigator and I said, take this ATM slip and we can use it as an exhibit later on. Because where would I have gotten this ATM slip? So the investigators took that. Chair, the day before the actual sting operation, I met him for the last time at McDonald's at Gateway in Durban North. I think we sat in my car and then we had a discussion as to where we're going to do this now, where they're going to give me the money, and I'm going to give him this document.
The backdated report.
That's right, Chair.
At that stage, you had not backdated. You had not backdated.
Not yet, Chair.
Yeah.
Not yet, Chair. So he wanted again, he said to me, I think he said we should go to the Japanese Gardens, which is right next to Hyper by the Sea, where the Jaipur restaurant is. So I said to him, then let's rather go to the casino, in the basement of the casino. And the reason why I did that is because I know the people at the casino, and I knew that they would be cooperative for us to use the CCTV footage. And he agreed to that. Then I said to him, okay, now how are we going to do this? Now, first of all, he indicated to me that during one of these discussions, they could put the money in my kid's account or put it in my friend's account. Now, I knew if we do a sting operation and money gets transferred to my account, there's going to be no direct link. So I said to him, no, I wanted cash. And I said to him at one stage, I wanted it in 200 Rand notes. He later came back and said to me, no, there's a problem with the 200 Rand notes at the bank, which at the time was indeed so. But I established later on that there was a different reason why they couldn't give me 200 Rand notes. So he said, no, they could only get 100 Rand notes and 50 Rand notes. So I said, it's fine. And then the day before we said, okay, how are we going to do this? He said to me, he's going to put it in a duffel bag. I said, no, don't put it in a duffel bag. Why don't you rather get some photocopy boxes from your office, put the money inside there. Now that's what we agreed to do. And then I said, okay, what I'll do is, I'll give you the document in the morning, then you give me the 150. And
you are now having this conversation at the basement of
No, this is now at McDonald's.
You are still in the car?
In the car, Chair.
Okay.
So I said to him, you give me the 150, I will then give you the document. Then if you're happy with it, you can pay me the balance of the 50 in the afternoon. Then he said to me, hey, I said 2 million, what did you think? Then it dawned upon me, he's actually talking about 2 million Rand. Then I said, no, that's what I thought. But I really thought it was 200,000 Rand. Then it really dawned upon me, it's actually 2 million Rand. So, Chair, then we departed. I left from there. I went straight to the casino, where I spoke to Mr. Christopher Royen, who's in charge of surveillance. I told him, look, we're busy with an operation. They must make sure those cameras are all working, and we agreed everything. Chair,
now, the arrangement between the two of you, that is yourself and Colonel Madu, was that you were going to go to the casino the following day.
That's correct, Chair.
Okay.
So after I'd arranged with Mr. Verwooyen at the casino, I went home. During that week, the provincial commissioner was away in Pretoria, and I was being the deputy. She'd appointed me as the acting provincial commissioner. So I was wearing two hats during that week. I have to add, Chair, every single meeting that I had with Madu was done by prior arrangement with the DPP's office. They were informed, except the one time when he called me down to the basement. There was no time but I immediately informed them afterwards. But every other engagement, before I would go, I would inform Captain Pelzer. He would inform the DPP's office. They would record it accordingly, and I would inform the investigating officer in the main corruption docket. After I had engaged with Madu, I would once again phone Pelzer back and gave him feedback verbally on the phone, and I would phone the investigating officer and tell him to diarize in his diary exactly what had happened on that day. On the day that the sting operation was set to be done, I think that was the one and only time that I engaged him. The initiative came from me. So I phoned him in the morning. I said, look, I'm ready for this now. Meet me in the basement. So I met him in the basement of provincial headquarters, police headquarters.
And you can't at this stage remember the date, or you've got the date somewhere?
If I could take you to paragraph 40.
It's on the 8th of September, Chair.
8th of September 2010.
2011 now, Chair.
2011, yeah, okay.
So, Chair, now, I had to play with time because I had to get people in position. And unfortunately, why to get people in position? We were ready to go to the casino. He then tells me all of a sudden, no. He doesn't want to go to the casino because there might be cameras. So I was off guard now because now I had to change my plans very quickly. So he once again suggested the Japanese gardens. I said, hey, why don't we just do it here in the basement? And he said to me, are you okay with that? I said, no, I'm okay with that. So I said, look, I'm the acting provincial commissioner. I'm very busy, so let me go up and just sort out the correspondence and the meeting, and then I'll phone you when I'm ready. But the idea was for me now to get all the detectives in place.
Yeah, redeploy the people.
That's correct, Chair. So in the building where I work, if you stand across the road, you can look up into the basement area. It's not closed off. So I said to him, I'm going to reverse my car in, so that would make it easier for whoever's going to observe us from the bottom to see what was happening. So I said, I'm going to reverse my car in, and then you reverse in next to me, and then we can do the business in the basement. And he agreed. I went upstairs. At that stage, Colonel Len Sheriff, he dealt with that particular operation. I phoned him. I said to him, Len, you guys need to get in place. We're not going to the casino any longer. This is going to happen at provincial headquarters in the basement. So they hurriedly had to change their plans. They got people into position on the fire escape at the exit to the building, and they also had people across the road to observe now how the transaction takes place. And then it was around about 12 o'clock when Sheriff Furman, he said to me, they're in place now. So I phoned Madhu, and I said to him, okay, I'm ready to come down and meet you. I thought he was still some distance away, and he said to me, no, I'm here already. So I thought, I hope he didn't see all the activity around the building, but fortunately, it's a very business area, so he didn't pick up the activity of the people getting into position. So, Chair, just before I left the office, my brother, who's a private detective, walked in and he said to me, I said, Amore, I can't talk now, I'm busy with a sting operation. And he's one of these Gadget guys, and he said to me, have you got a camera? And I said, no. He said, you want one? I said, yes. And he gave me a key holder with a camera in. And there was no time to do a crash course in how the camera worked. I just said, switch it on and leave it on. So I took this thing and I walked, obviously now with the document which I had endorsed, which I put in an envelope, got into the lift, and one of the generals was in the lift with me, one of the ladies, not the PC, and she was talking to me on the way down, and my mind was somewhere else. And we both exited on the same floor, and we walked out. But as I walked out, I noticed my car standing there, and his car is not next to mine. So as I got into the basement, I looked to my left, and his car was standing there, and he was halfway out of the car. So he alighted from the vehicle, and the other general walked to her right, and he said to me, it's safe here. And I knew if we were going to do it there, the people across the road would not see us, because I was going to touch my head as a signal for them to pounce. So I just carried on walking towards my car, and I said, no, come and park your car next to mine. And I had this camera on the whole time. And so he reversed in next to my car, and he waited for this other general to disappear from our sight. He then got out of the car, walked to the boot of his car, opened the boot of his car. I opened the boot to my car. He then took out, which appeared to be a brand new suitcase. So he put it in the boot of my car. And because the arrangement was that he would come with boxes, I still asked him, that's all recorded. I said, where did you get this? Then he said, I bought it. And the way he spoke, I said, what? He said, I bought it. He bought it. So I said, okay, but now I was scared that they were going to try and bamboozle me. So I said to him, he must open the suitcase, I want to see the money. Because I was scared there might be bricks or something something else in the suit. And it had a little lock, and he opened it, and it was packed with notes. So I said, okay, close it, closed my boot, and I took the envelope, and I opened and I slid the piece of paper out like that, and it's all on camera. And I'm actually holding the camera in his face now. And I read the date and the stamp there to him, and he said to me, hundreds. Those were his.
Is that?
He said hundreds, meaning 100%.
Yeah, okay.
And I handed him the document. He then got into his car, and I started walking towards the lift now. And I was expecting, I never realized that they'd placed detectives on the fire escape. I thought they were going to arrest him or block him when he emerged from the building with his car. So I touched my head, and then I thought, I hope these people, and I was actually slapping myself at one stage. But I carried on walking, and then as I about to get in the lift, I just heard this shout. Whoa! And then I looked to my right, and the guys had jumped from the fire escape. So they took him out of the vehicle. I carried on walking. Got into the lift, went upstairs. At that stage, I'd never done something like this before. I was shaking a little bit, so I composed myself, and I went down again. I didn't go, but by then they had taken him out of his vehicle and taken documents out of his vehicle. And I called, I think it was Len Sheriff, and there was a beehive of activity around his vehicle. And I said to him, there's the key to my car. Do all the forensics that's necessary in the car. And I went back to my office. I think they counted the money that evening, and although the arrangement was that they would give me 1.5 million, the money actually counted in the suitcase as 1.3, just under 1.4 million rand in cash.
On that score, can I just direct you to paragraph 40 of your affidavit, which informs of the actual amount you may be referring to?
Yes, Chair, it was 1,372,000 rand in cash.
And just one point for clarity, you mentioned now that there was 1.5 million that ought to have been paid, but your earlier evidence was 2 bar, which you understood to be 2 million. Can you please clarify?
Chair, as I said, the day before, the agreement was that they would give me 1.5 million in exchange for the document. And then when they're happy with the document, that same afternoon, they would pay me the balance of 500,000 rand, the 500,000 rand. The problem with that scenario is once I allowed them to get away with that document, and they did not keep their side of the bargain. They could have used that document and compromised the whole investigation. That's why I arranged that we will arrest him there and then. I could not allow him to get away with that document.
Yes.
Thank you.
Of course, even if they had gone away with the document, and he was not arrested there and then on the spot, with you having taken photos of, you had a camera with you, you would have been able to show the circumstances under which you had backdated that document. And his picture would have been on the camera when he showed you the money in the basement and all of that.
Chair, that's indeed what happened. My main concern was, and I've dealt with a number of high court cases, keep it as simple as possible. To have gone into a second transaction, I knew that there was enough evidence to arrest them at that junction. I did not want to take a chance to let them get away with that document.
Yes, no, I understand, I'm just saying, doesn't look like it would have been, the whole operation would have been defeated. But obviously, you were better off having him arrested there and then.
That's correct, Chair.
Yeah, okay.
Chair, I could just perhaps add here, simultaneous to this, we had the Act 70s running. So, listening to the intercepts afterwards, and we had this done scientifically where we plotted exactly where they were at different times. So it's clear from that that Toshan Pandey and Naveen Madhu had met at the Japanese gardens. That's where the money was transferred from Pandey to Madhu's vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Madhu then proceeds to my office.
Mm-hmm.
About 10 minutes into the process of going to my office, and I'd say about half a kilometer to a kilometer away from my office, Pandey phones Madhu, and he says to him, stop the vehicle. So Pandey stops the vehicle, and he says, okay, I've stopped the vehicle. He says, okay, go and open the boot, and take a cloth, and wipe the suitcase. So that's obviously to wipe off his fingerprints, if any were on the suitcase.
This is now on the same day?
Same day, Chair. So what happened, Chair?
Or before he came to the building.
That's right,
Madhu.
Chair.
So he got this call on his way to the building to
That's
meet
right.
you.
That's right, Chair.
Yeah. Okay. And you hear this conversation subsequently.
Well, subsequent when we listen to the intercepts.
Yes. Okay.
He says to Madhu, stop the vehicle, wipe the suitcase, obviously
Okay.
to wipe any possible fingerprints of
Yeah.
his that could be on the vehicle,
Okay.
on the suitcase.
Okay. Thank you.
Chair, if I may, 2 points. My attention is being drawn to the time,
Yes.
which is now 4:15.
I guess that we should at least go up to past. Would that be fine with you?
I'm fine, Chair.
Yes. Let's go up to past, I think.
Chair, if I may, the next segment of his evidence would likely take longer than 15 minutes. But if you're happy for us to proceed on that basis, that's fine.
Let's use the 15 minutes. We'll stop wherever, and then we'll proceed tomorrow.
As it pleases, Chair. I've also been handed a better copy of
the
VS.
The second report.
Correct, Chair.
Yeah. Okay. Thank
Which
you.
is JWB1.
Registrar.
With your leave, if I may hand it up. Thank you.
Thank you. Just 1 second, I want to. Oh, that's much better. So I'll just replace this one with the new one. Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you. We are now block 24 of the timeline. On the very day that Colonel Madhu was arrested, on the 8th of September 2011, a certain telephonic exchange took place.
I'm sorry, you say September. I see that in paragraph 40, he has got 8 August 2011.
Correct, Chair. That was in fact corrected through one of his supplementary affidavits.
Okay. So it is September.
Yes, Chair, it's September.
Okay, thank you.
And that was actually corrected in paragraph 5.1 of his first supplementary affidavit, Exhibit ZC.
Okay.
I had mentioned that on the very day that Colonel Madhu was arrested, a certain telephonic discussion took place to which you were made aware of. Can you please inform the Chair about such exchange?
Just subsequent to that engagement, we listened to some of the telephone conversations, the intercepted conversations of Pandey. So obviously he had now sent Madhu with just under 1.4 million rand to my office, and he's now waiting for Madhu to return with this document that's going to assist him.
Yes.
And he doesn't come back. So he makes a number of frantic calls, some to the provincial commissioner, who does not take his call. I suspect she might have been busy in Pretoria. He phones a number of senior police officers.
It's like he's getting worried now.
He's getting very worried. You can hear he's frantic. He doesn't know where Madhu is for the money or the report. And then one particular conversation, I think it was late in the evening, Chair, was between him and a person by the name of Debo Mzobe. Debo Mzobe, my understanding, is a nephew of or a cousin, I'm not too sure, of the then State President, Mr. Jacob Zuma.
Okay.
And there's a conversation between Pandey and Debo, where Debo Mzobe, where Pandey says that I'm acting I'm acting like the mafia, and that I'm now standing in the way of everything, or words to that effect.
If I could perhaps just take you then, in line with the conversation that you now speak of, to page 82 of your main affidavit.
82.
82.
It's page 82 of Exhibit ZA, rather than 82 of his affidavit. Because
Apologies,
his
Chair.
affidavit goes up to 70-something, isn't it? Okay, thank you. 82. But the document that you want actually starts at 83, is that right?
Yes, on
Or
80,
not really? At 82, yeah.
on page 82 is a transcriber's certificate, which appears to be dated 8 September 2011. And it's been transcribed by Sure Type Typing and Transcription Services. Is that correct?
That's correct, Chair.
Apologies, it in fact appears to relate to the
Yes.
transcription of an event that took place on the 8th of September 2011.
That's correct, Chair.
And is it correct that that is in fact the same date on which Colonel Madhu was arrested?
That's right, Chair.
If I can then ask you to turn to page 83. Which runs until page 86. Is this in fact the conversation that you were referring to?
That's the conversation I'm referring to, Chair.
Okay. Can I ask you to then identify, or rather the document talks to male 1 and male 2. Can I ask you to please identify who male 1 is and who male 2 is?
Chair, male 1 in this conversation will be Toshan Pandey, and male 2 will be Debo Mzobe.
In that instance, I'm going to ask you to read this transcript into the record, but in doing so, to identify what male 1 says relative to what male 2 says.
Hang on one second. Oh, are you asking him to read the whole transcript?
Yes, Chair.
No, I don't think necessarily he should read the whole transcript. He listened to the conversation and probably has read this. He should just tell us what the main features of the conversation is, and one can read this later on.
Okay.
Okay, let me ask him. You listened to the conversation, didn't you?
I did, Chair.
And you have read this transcript, have you? This transcript, have you had a chance to read it?
I did, Chair.
Yes. What are the main features of the conversation between the two people?
Chair, with your permission, I would like to read this because this is the nub of where I think my problem started.
Okay, okay, all right.
If the chair would allow me to
No,
do
that's
that.
fine then, okay.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, okay, read it then. It's, is it 4 pages? Okay, read.
Thank you, Chair. Mail 1, that's Natoshan Pandey. How's it? Mail 2 says inaudible. Mail 1, but can you talk? Mail 2, indistinct. Mail 1, okay, you know, I told you our pressure was denied. It says mail 2. Mail 1 then says, the PC, in brackets, question mark, sent a parcel with one of the boys who's a colonel. Mail 2 says, Mail 1 says, of some cash. Mail 2 says, sorry. Mail 1 says, 2 million cash. Mail 2 says, yes, question mark. Mail 1, because Boyson wanted that. Mail 2, sorry. Mail 1, can you talk? Mail 2, yes, I can hear you now. Mail 1, this is our situation, right? Our guy went to Boyson with a cash of 2 million cash. Mail 2, yes. Mail 2, yes. Mail 1, that's what Boyson wanted, and then Boyson made it into a trap. Then Mail 2 whistles. Mail 1, they arrested the guy. Mail 2 says, don't tell me. Mail 1 says, honest, my brother, that's why I didn't answer your calls today. I was running around to help the brother out. I got the journal in Pretoria phoning me because she went some stats or out of crime stats or whatever. And it says indistinct, she was busy. Indistinct, then go help the brother out. But the bottom line is, how can Boyson do that? Mail 2 says, how? Come on, man, how? Mail 1, you see, if you're playing ball, you're playing ball. You know what I'm saying. He went against, he reckoned, no, I mean, I don't know what went into him. He arranged a trap and he sorted it out, and the guy, he took the bag of money. There's no doubt about the 2 million in 100 rand notes. Mail 2, how, man, I don't believe this. I think that's probably how, man, I don't believe this. Mail 1, that's what happened. It will be in the paper tomorrow morning, so it's a big thing. Mail 2, what means that your name is not there? Mail 1, my lady is not there. She's in Joburg, but this was our boy. Mail 2, no, I'm saying that your name is not there. Mail 1, no, my name is not there. No, it's not there. But obviously they know my name is there because we arranged that you know that I'm saying, that you know what I'm saying. Speaking simultaneously, the two of them. They suspect we did this, but this thing is getting out of hand with Boyson. Boyson thinks he's a mafia now, you know. Mail 2 is indistinct. Mail 1 says, I said Boyson thinks he's a mafia now. Mail 2, Mail 1, you know, for him to behave in this matter, he thinks he's like everyone, he's above everyone else now. Maybe we need to clip him a bit. Mail 2, how, I don't believe this man. Mail 1, yeah, he did that, and I won't use the word, it's been televised, that whatever white bastard. And I told my sister, don't trust this white bastard, but she said, no, send it through because he's going to play ball. You'll do this, you'll do that, and whatever. Then the two speak simultaneously again, and that's what he does. He wants, and then Mail 2 says, but your auntie, she's not involved. Mail 1, no, she and I am not involved. You see, we use someone else to go there and sort it out. You know what I'm saying? Mail 2, okay. Mail 1, yeah, but we'll meet and we'll have a briefing and we'll decide how we're going to take care of this guy because he's obviously going to stand in the way of everything. Mail 2, yeah, no, it's fine. But okay, no, it's fine. Mail 1, they speak over each other. I said I must get bail for this boy. I can't tell him. I said, no, I don't want what you're talking about because I don't know whether it's a trap or not a trap, you know. Mail 2, yes. Mail 1, but then I phoned him back from the call box. He says, no, just help him whatever you can because he's a good man. He said the guy that got arrested is a colonel. He said he's a good man. Just help him wherever you can help him. Chair, I think that's perhaps the part that I would like.
The important part, okay.
Thank you. Just to reiterate, please identify again for the record who male 1 is.
Male 1 will be Toshan Pandey, and male 2 will be Debo Mzobe.
Do you know what the relationship is between Toshan Pandey and Mr. Debo Mzobe?
Chair, it emerged from the investigations that the investigators were doing that Toshan Pandey and Debo Mzobe are both registered partners on 2 different close corporations.
So some of the close corporations which were the subject of the investigation were, or 2 of them were close corporations in which both Mr. Pandey and Mr. Mzobe were involved.
That's correct, Chair.
Okay.
Reference in this discussion is made to a person who appears to be a woman.
That's correct, Chair.
In your understanding, who was that woman that they were referring to?
Chair, the inescapable conclusion that I come to is that they were referring to the PC.
The provincial commissioner.
That's correct, Chair.
Yes. Is there something you can point out in the conversation that,
Well, Chair, the mere fact...
you say suggests that it was...
Because sorry, Chair, for interrupting you.
Yes.
She was indeed in Pretoria.
Yes.
With a meeting with Crime Stats. And he refers to Our Lady being in Pretoria with the Crime Stats.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
The conversation also refers to, in inverted commas, the guy who was arrested. Who was the guy they referred to?
That could only have been Naveen Madhu, Chair.
And then mention was also made in the conversation on page 85 in particular. And I read, maybe we need to clip him a bit. What does that mean?
Chair, my interpretation of that is that I needed to be clipped. I don't know, having been a member of the Hawks, whether they wanted to clip my wings, but they wanted to clip me somehow.
Which you understood to mean what? What did you understand them to be meaning when they say you needed to be clipped?
Chair, at that juncture, it could have meant anything, but subsequently it was clear to me what that clipping meant.
So at that juncture, you were not sure, is that correct?
I was not sure.
But
Chair.
Subsequently, you attached a meaning to it.
I did, Chair.
And what is the meaning that you attached to it subsequently?
Chair, subsequent to that, events unfolded that led to myself being targeted,
Yes.
Ostracized,
Yes.
Eventually arrested.
Yes. So you could link that to this clipping of wings that was referred to in the conversation.
Definitely, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Were any subsequent arrests made after Colonel Madhu was arrested?
That's indeed so, Chair. I think about a week or 2 later, after further evidence had been gathered by the investigators, they managed to apply for a warrant of arrest for Toshan Pandey. At the time, he happened to be out of the country. He was flagged at movement control, and on his return from abroad, if I say abroad, I think he had gone to the DRC. And on his return at our Tambo airport, he was arrested at the airport and brought to Durban.
And this was still 2011, second half of 2011.
That's correct, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Do you?
By the time he was arrested, that is Mr. Pandey, Colonel Madhu was out on bail or not yet? Or you can't remember?
Chair, I can't remember. I suspect he was still in custody.
Okay, thank you.
Do you recall the charge against Mr. Toshan Pandey for which he was arrested?
I think it was for corruption, Chair.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, we've just gone past 4:30. I think we should adjourn now, and then tomorrow. Mr. Pretorius, shall we start at 10 tomorrow as well?
Chair, we did discuss it during the adjournment.
Yes, and we talked about
the
9:30.
choices are 9:30 for 2
Yeah.
hours or 10 for 2
Yes.
hours,
Yeah, I think maybe let's start at 10.
as you please.
Yeah. Okay, we'll adjourn at this stage then, and we will start at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. We adjourn.
Yes, please.